If the ball goes over the top of you, he'll drop back on the line. Sometimes you forget it, but this specific action, it was there. It saved them, whatever, the equalizer, and 3 points probably on the way to safety for Leeds United.
Absolutely, a huge intervention there from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Nothing then for Manchester United tonight. A second defeat under Michael Carrick. Here's the United skipper, Bruno Fernandes. Yes, they're still in a strong position. 24 days without a game. And Leeds have just played a quarter-final and got into a semi-final. Does that come into it at all in terms of that slow start, do you feel, sharpness-wise?
I think Leeds was they were all over Man United in the first half. And, of course, it's a reason. You can point at that, 24 days, 25 days without a game. I think we've seen some pictures of people a couple of days off. They went on holiday, went to the US. The training camp in Ireland is not the same as preparing for a match. When you have a pre-season or mid-season break, let's say, what you have in Holland, and you go away for training camp a week, you know when the game is. And this period, more than 3 weeks, it's a long period. But I think Leeds deserved the win, the result in the first half. They were a better team. They were well equipped. They set out their intentions and they got the goals. And second half, United came back, but just not enough. And so you can point at that reason, but I don't think it's a fair one.
And should credit be given to Leeds there, because we've seen a lot of teams near the bottom go to grounds like Old Trafford and put players behind the ball and just try and hit on the counter. They were right on the front foot into United faces from the start tonight. Yeah, they were. And I don't think they know another way to play, really. I think they like that system, the energy that they've got. I thought the system played a big role, actually, in dominating that first half against Manchester United. You know, when they bring their two attacking players inside, I felt it was difficult for the fullbacks to track them, especially then if the wing backs of Leeds would go and run into that space. So the fullbacks were almost staying in their positions, and then they were getting room in behind Casemiro and Ugarte as well. So I thought the system killed Manchester United in the first half, and they had to tweak it a little bit to prevent that in the second half. It's a fascinating system. It's strange, isn't it? Because Manchester United struggles so much to play with a three at the back. But some teams, when it clicks, it really is a hard system to play against. Well, it was a mid-season change, wasn't it? It was and almost forced upon him, really. Everything was going wrong, and it was like, what else can we do? And they just changed it, and all of a sudden they landed on something. Half-time at City, yeah. The players really got a grip of the system. As I say, it can be a very, very difficult formation to pick up. But if you play it right, it's so difficult to play against. And I think Manchester United found that in the first half. That's interesting. But they didn't show any fear, did they, for a team in a relegation battle? No,
I must say I've not seen Leeds United too much, of course, in preparation of this game. There's a few highlights and everything. But they surprised me very much how they set up. It was very positive. They played some nice football, great crosses into the box. Maybe United heaped some difficulties on themselves and everything. With Casemiro scanning what was getting robbed of the ball.
Was Mainu missing there tonight for Man United?
I think what Michael Carrick did exceptionally well, also bringing Mainu back in. It's a graduate of the youth system, so to bring somebody back here, I think for United it's really important to have the youth coming through. And I think he represents a certain value. So to bring him back in, making sure that he's appreciated, and I think he made a difference also in many games. And I think with the two midfielders, Ugarte and Casemiro, I think it's a little bit the same, similar type of players. Of course, Casemiro, a little bit more strength and attacking wise than Ugarte, but I think they missed him, and I'm not really sure even the first half. With Benjamin Sesko up front, if that was the right option to go for. And let's remind ourselves of Leeds' dynamic start, Michael, because Manchester United were wide open live at Old Trafford. Joyous Leeds United. Here is the manager of Manchester United, Michael Carrick.
Michael, first of all, what did you make of the team's performance today?
We didn't start the game particularly well. We obviously conceded, which then Euro gets a forearm smash in the back of his head, and then they score the first goal. So didn't decide to overturn that decision. So that was a big moment in the game. We didn't quite have the rhythm. We didn't click. We had some moments, but it wasn't quite there for large parts of the first half. And then second half, I thought the boys, the way they went around it and stayed positive and fought for everything and tried to get something out of the game after another shocking decision to send Leeds off. It's 2 games in a row we've had decisions like that go against us, but that one I have to say was one of the worst I've seen.
Well, he didn't hold back on his opinion.
Defeats in the last 23 matches for Leeds United, and perhaps he deserves a little bit of praise as well this evening, Roy.
Yeah, he was under huge pressure. Even there was talk about him changing in the summer, and then when they had a kind of sticky patch over another season, there was talk about him leaving. But he's proven to be a brilliant manager. Obviously, the win tonight, even getting to a cup semi-final, they've got a bit of momentum now. And the way they played tonight, they played with a lot of confidence and belief. And yeah, we saw his reaction at the end of the game. He's quite a kind of calm guy, but he'd be fairly pleased.
I think he was. I think that's fair to say. And there they are, still in 15th, but with a 6-point gap on the bottom 3 and Spurs. How do you see it now, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, listen, what I said before, listen, those teams down there, they'll all be watching tonight, the supporters, the players, the staff, and that'll be a big blow for them. Psychologically, you know, you think that's a game Leeds should probably lose today. They'd be looking at the home fixtures and saying, OK, probably looking at maybe getting 4 points at least, maybe from those 2 home games. But you factor in, could they lose at Old Trafford to win?
Do you think Wolves are sitting there thinking this? We've been just entirely disrespectful about them all night because
to be honest,
we're saying it's almost a given they're going to get something in that game.
I think almost everyone's a little disrespectful of Wolves because they're near the bottom. Actually, I think Wolves have been a really tough proposition for a lot of teams in these last few months. You think of sort of what they did to Arsenal, what they did to Liverpool, what they did to Aston Villa. Obviously, this is different. They're going away to Leeds. But it's certainly a game, if Leeds play well, they've got a great chance of winning. It's not being disrespectful to them. Unfortunately, that comes with the fact that Wolves are bottom of the league and the same with Burnley. But the thing for me was the performance. That wasn't the performance of a really poor team. That was a performance of a really good team.
Well, he says that's been the level all season. They deserve more. Do you agree?
Yeah, listen, I think most managers always say they deserve more. Listen, it'll sort itself out at the end of the season. But when you're going back to Tottenham, because Tottenham are the big story down at the bottom, let's not forget that. There's obviously a relegation fight every season. To see Tottenham there, you can't quite believe it. We have not seen a Tottenham performance like that in about 6 months.
Well, for what it's worth, I think Opta have got Leeds relegation chance.
Yeah, and we see it quite a lot. It's a shame, and no one can really, pin the thing of why it happens. But we've done it quite a lot this season, and it shows because the second half we go a man down and we play better. And realistically we should have drawn a game with the chances we had. Yeah. They did some brilliant, goal line clearances, but we got back in the game and we were definitely the better team with 10 men in the second half. And that's why it's always important. You've got to try and start well, because we went 2-0 down far too easy, and then they can all get behind the ball, and they're playing and they're fighting for something, So I mean, we've seen them stay on there. They're thinking that's 3 points that probably might keep them up.
Yeah, they're on 36 points now, 6 ahead of Spurs with just 6 games left. It is a massive result for Leeds. It hurts because it's a big rival of ours, but for them it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that cements their status in the Premier League. I think they're home and dry now. Obviously, they've got 6 games to go to collect probably, 4 points to get to 40. So I think they're home and dry. I think it's a battle now between obviously Tottenham, West Ham and Forest, and I'm sure they'll all be disappointed with the result tonight. But sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and give the team credit. I thought obviously in every department they were a better side tonight.
Yeah, they were. You mentioned the celebrations at the end there. They did appear to be celebrating as though they think that could be enough, because when you're battling down at the bottom, points are so hard to come by.
They are, and to come to Old Trafford as well when you are at the bottom and to get 3 points, it's difficult to do. So they know they've worked hard for it. Like I said, it should have been a draw. But look at the defending they did at the end. Clearing it off the line, headers, putting bodies behind the ball, and they made it difficult for us. And when you are that low, you need something right to go for you, and they definitely did today.
Let's have a look at the table anyway and see where we stand at the moment, because it is important to remember we do still have a nice advantage over Chelsea, still 7 points over the 6th place Blues. Liverpool 3 behind us. We're level with Villa. 5 do qualify for the Champions League. So, Wes, we still got a great chance of reaching our objective, which is securing Champions League football here next season.
Yeah, and that's what we needed this year. We needed to be good. We needed to be in the Champions League positions, and we've got ourselves there today. It does hurt a little bit, but at the same time, you know, if you're looking at the league table, 7 points, you know, Chelsea have to find from somewhere, and we have to lose all our games. While that happens, we've got ourselves into a really nice position, but it doesn't mean we take the foot off the pedal. We still have to keep driving on and trying to get as many as we can, but from the previous seasons, it's absolutely brilliant.
Need to go to Stamford Bridge next week and get a result.
Yeah, I think, sorry for jumping in there, so I think we go to Stamford Bridge. If we beat them, I think we get Champions League. It's as simple as that. I really do. I think the gap then just becomes too much for Chelsea to catch us and the other teams, but you know, absolutely huge game next week. We need to dust ourselves off. Obviously get a good week's training in. Obviously we're going to lose Martinez. I don't know if Harry will be back for the game. I'm not sure. This is what the suspension. Obviously Cobby as well missing today, so you know it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I say we go there, we beat Chelsea and we'll get Champions League.
Yeah, Maguire should be back. His suspension's over. Let's hope he's fit enough to return. As for the bottom of the table, we mentioned that 6-point cushion. Leeds have got now over Spurs. West Ham got that big 4-0 win, didn't they, against Wolves? Forest got a point. They're picking up points here. We've said